Because if it don't work, then you know what I mean. Oh, it says we're on live now, so it should pop up. I should hear it on my phone too. Let me know what you see. Okay. So lucky about that. Okay. Most High in Christ. Yeah, fake Christmas. It's disgusting. Right? Yeah, it just popped up on my phone. So that's what we're gonna be talking about today. You know what I'm saying? Smooth. Here we go. Lock. Now, all right, so let's get it popping. Like I said, Israelite School Universal Practical Knowledge, man, start out at 125th Street, all New York, under Commandant General Yohana. Let me say this loud and clear, man. I'm gonna say it. I might say it every single time. Like, I might have to get a breakdown on it just to start the class. We are not affiliated with any other Hebrew Israelite organization, man. That's right. If it's not of the I.S.U.P.K. under Commandant General Yohana, it's not of the truth. You understand? Commandant General Yohana is the only man who has been commissioned. You understand? Who's been given duty and a task to do this work. Right. You know what I'm saying? Every man in this school, you know what I'm saying? Every brother in this, not just this building in Durham, North Carolina, but every single I.S.U.P.K. branch. When I say branch, I just mean location. Every I.S.U.P.K. school, every single one of those brothers was given the green light under Commanding General Yohana to do this work. You understand? So if you're doing this, if you out on the street, if you on the street teaching that you know what I'm saying, the oppressor is the devil, if you're teaching that blacks, Hispanics, Native Indians are the true Jews according to the Bible, if you claiming to be an Israelite, any of that, if you're doing any of that, you're not in the I.S.U.P.K., you need to stand down because you were not given the authority to do that. You understand? Right. And so Lucky, let me jump to my first scripture that I always like to start with for the history class. What's it, Romans? I think it's Romans 15:4. Start there before we get into the history, and it's so disgusting, man. Like, yeah, so Shalaki, you got any what's on Christ? You can right before you get that, if you can just hit me one time. We got any cups on the one? You see, you got. Okay. No sweat. That's no sweat. I'll grab some. Romans chapter 15 and verse 4. Go ahead and read that for me, brother.
The book of Romans, chapter 15, verse 4. For whatsoever things were written aforetime.
Whatsoever things were written aforetime. First of all, who's talking right here? Paul is talking. You understand? The apostle Paul is talking. This is a brother, man, who learned up, you know what I'm saying? He didn't walk with Christ when Christ was on the earth, but he had to go to Peter first. He was a follower of Christ. Paul didn't do things on his own. He wasn't some rogue Israelite going and forming his own thing. What he did. Because guess what? Because Christ was against those people who did that. That's why he had to go to Peter first. Because Peter was the rock on which Christ established his church, his school. You understand? So Paul ended up being over the churches. You understand? But he came up under the same, you know what I'm saying, under the same roots, you know what I'm saying, of those who follow Christ. Okay, read it from the top.
For whatsoever things were written aforetime.
Whatsoever things were written aforetime, the things that were written before, the same things that Pastor Jenkins and Creflo, Salakia, Theft Your Dollars and TD Snakes and Juanita Bynum, give me some more, and Joshua Holmes, and well, I don't know, I'm the Vicky Winans, Kirk Franklin, you know what I'm saying? What's them disgusting? Tamala Man, all them nasty gospel and all that. You know what I mean? The same thing that they told you don't exist no more. The same one that they no more. Read it from the top.
For whatsoever things were written aforetime.
So whatsoever things were written aforetime, Paul is making reference to the Old Testament. So somebody tell you the Old Testament is done away with, we don't got to follow. told, well, Paul said, well, the things that were written aforetime obviously means back then, back in the day, read on.
Were written for our learning.
So they were written to hinder us.
Were written for our learning.
They were written for our learning. We need the things that were written aforetime so we can learn. Paul, Peter, you understand, Simon, they needed what was written aforetime so that way they can do what? They can do the work of the Most High. That's exactly why they needed those things. We need it now. How the heck am I going to tell somebody how to serve the Most High without going to the blueprint of how to serve the Most High? That's what Christ did. Christ didn't just speak his own words. He said, as it is written. You know what I'm saying? Paul said the same thing in Romans. As it is written, Jacob have I loved, and Esau have I hated. You know what I mean? As it is written. So that's why it says the things written aforetime, read on.
That we, through patience and comfort of Scripture, might have hope.
Right. Patience and comfort of Scripture might have hope, right? So now, things that were written aforetime require learning. Yet another, here we are again, you know what I'm saying, Monday night history class. Here's something else the I.S.U.P.K has to bring to you for you to understand, you know what I'm saying, what's going on in this world, the things that your Christian pastor didn't teach you, your mother didn't teach you, your father didn't teach you, your grandmother who you love so dearly didn't teach you, none of your aunties, your Sunday school teacher didn't teach you, your elementary school teacher, high school, things that they never taught you. You understand? That's what the I.S.U.P.K is here to do, to wake up our people. You understand? So now, brother, if you can, barbecue shop. 1 second. I want you to get me. I got it right here. Oh, man. Where do I want to start first? That's the real question. I can start a lot of places. Give me Exodus, man. Give me Exodus chapter 20. Exodus chapter 20 and verse 3. Give me that first. Because this is important to understanding the history of this holiday, right? Where it starts. We're gonna go all the way through, right? We may not get quite today's time in this particular class. I might have to break it off since the actual discussing holiday is next week. We might actually get into that next week. You know what I'm saying? If that happens, no worries. We'll just do a part 2. You know what I mean? But we're gonna move up from the origin, like where before you get the scripture. And give me this one. Salakia. Get me the whole Exodus and get me Ecclesiastes chapter 1 and verse 9.
Ecclesiastes
in the Bible, not Ecclesiastes. Give me that first. We're gonna jump here because our people have this perception, right? And it's understandable because it's how we get trained up. You know what I'm saying? We get trained, shalom. We get trained to look at things that happen at a certain time as being vastly different than the world we live in today. You understand? That is what society tells us. It's like we think of there's so much technology now. We got cars now. We got this now. It's like we can't even imagine this old world. But the reality is the old world ain't really that old, for one. And for two, it ain't that much different. You know what I mean? I'm going to do a class eventually. I'm working on that. I'm going to do a class on slavery. Why? Not because, people know about slavery, but I want people to understand that, you know what, being a slave back then was very similar to being a slave now. You know what I'm saying? Like it looked only different, maybe in terms of what the clothes they wore and things like that. But the same way you maneuver at that job now, we call it a slave for a reason. Slavery back then was similar to that. Obviously, there was certain things, there was more overt acts of violence, you know what I'm saying? But what I'm saying that to say this, the same thing is happening when it comes to this Christmas breakdown. So read that scripture out, Ecclesiastes.
Ecclesiastes 3.
1 and 9.
1 and 9. Salakia.
Guess what?
The book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 1, verse 9. Mm-hmm. The thing that has been.
The thing that what?
Hath been.
The thing that hath been. What does that mean?
The things that happened already.
The things that happened already. The thing that hath been. Past tense. You know what I'm saying? Read on.
It is that which shall be.
It is what?
It is that which shall be.
The thing that hath been, it is that which shall be. What happened before It's going to happen again. You understand? Read on.
And that which is done is that which shall be done.
That which is done. So the first part told us the thing that happened before is going to happen again. Shalom, my name is Doug. So the thing that's happening right now is going to continue to happen in the future. Shalom. Doug. Okay. Read it from the top.
Book of Ecclesiastes 1 verse 9. The things that have been is that which shall be,
right?
And that which is done, which shall be done. And there is no new thing under the sun.
There is no new thing under the sun. Celebrating right now, the holidays that you're celebrating, all that you're doing, all of these things that you think is just something that you came up with. It's just a quote unquote American tradition. These things have been taking place thousands of years before. In fact, it was taking place thousands of years before even the thing that you think you got it from started. Because nowadays we might have some people that know about Saturnalia. Some people might know about Saturnalia, right? Some people might know about Roman customs, Greek customs. Well, a lot of those customs were already stolen. Let me make this very clear. The oppressor, you know what I'm saying, who comes from these people, he does not have a culture of his own. He's a vagabond. He does not, why do they call him a culture vulture? That's exactly what he is, a culture vulture.
That's right.
Even down to what he believes in, his gods. His gods are not even his own. You understand that? All of his gods are stolen. In ancient Rome and Greece, all those gods, Saturn and Zeus, Cronos, all of those gods and goddesses were stolen from cultures that came before. If I may, they weren't stolen from Israelites. We know that much. Because we didn't have a bunch of guys running around having sex with little boys. And men having sex with another male god, and then they make some kind of weird baby, and then sperm, and all that weird stuff going on. We didn't have that in Israel. But they did get it, Africans and the Arabs. They did steal their gods from them. You understand? So read that from the top one more time, brother.
The thing that has been, it is that which shall be,
right?
And that which is done is that which shall be done. And there is no new thing under the sun.
And there is no new thing under the sun. All right. Now give me Exodus chapter 20, verse 3.
The book of Exodus chapter 20, verse 3. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Verse 4. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth.
Right. So basically, what's the Most High saying right here? What's he saying? Somebody make it plain for me. What exactly does it mean? Read verse 3 one more time.
Thou shalt have no other gods before me.
What does that mean? Yeah.
Well, there's nothing else worthy of worship, and he's the only power.
Most High in Christ. I like that. That's you, man. I like that. That's a Tawab answer, because he didn't just keep it as say, don't believe in other gods. He said, recognize that there's only one power. Right. You know what I'm saying? There's only one source by which anything takes place. There's only one power for the Israelites. There's only one creator. You know what I mean? Why did he say this? Let's get a little bit of history. So who knows who Nimrod was? Who was Nimrod?
A son of Cush. He was a king. And he took part in the building of the Tower of Babel, I believe.
Let's get it. Get it for me. Definitely Genesis. I'm asking you about Nimrod because this is where this is why I said before, even before we get into the Greeks, even before we get into the Romans, Christmas starts with Nimrod. Shalom. I mean, pretty spot, man. What's in Christ? Yeah, it starts with Nimrod. So let's get a little bit of history on him, all right? So let me know if you got it out. It should be Genesis, I think chapter 10, verse 8. Mayo.
Yeah, I got it.
Salakia. 1 second. Salakia. 1 second, brother.
That's it.
Okay. Most High in Christ. Oh, he was. Oh, I think he did. If not, you know what? I just want to see if he did. Okay. I'm saying what. But yeah, go ahead and read that. Genesis chapter 10 and verse 8.
The book of Genesis, chapter 10, verse 8. And Cush begat Nimrod.
Cush begat Nimrod. Who's Cush? Get out.
One of the sons of Ham.
One of the sons of Ham. And Ham is who?
The African.
How do I know that? Somebody on the street say, "How do you know Ham is Africans?" You gonna make that face? You gonna go? So how do I know Ham is African? I mean, I don't know that. My name is Tom Jones, and I attend Southern Baptist Christian Center of, you know what I'm saying, religious freedom. I don't know what the hell you're talking about. How is Ham Africans? Guess what?
I mean, I always say that. Wasn't Ham, Shem, wasn't Ham on Noah's, not Noah, what? No, it probably was Noah. Wasn't Ham Noah's son?
God.
And Ham is the progenitor of the dark races, not the Negroes.
And where would I find that?
You can find that in what, Genesis?
I can find Ham as the father of the dark races, not the Negroes in Genesis. You better pull that scripture for me right now, brother. Where would I find that Ham is the father of the dark races, not the Negroes? Most High in Christ. That's exactly where you find that out. That's what we need it for. Somebody pull it. Somebody give me. Who did it? You got something?
No, I got it.
You got one? There's one right here. Oh, yeah, just hold what you got. It's about give me Ham in the Zondervan Compact Bible Dictionary. You understand? This is why this is why we need these extra things, right? Guess what? The brother wasn't wrong. Zabak, you're not wrong. Yes, the Bible, if you read, first off, you can read other books that tell you that Cush, that's common knowledge. You can go into an encyclopedia and you know that Cush, you know what I'm saying, is the progenitor of Ethiopians. That's like known Encyclopedia Britannica knowledge. And the Bible just told us that Nimrod was the son of Cush. The Bible also tells us that Cush was the son of Ham. So you're right. We right there, we already getting information that tells us we know Egypt's in Africa. We know Cush is in Africa. We can go all day long in the scriptures. But if we want to go directly to know who Ham is, hit me with that. Zondervan.
Ham, the youngest son of Noah.
Ham was the youngest son of Noah. We know.
Born flood.
Right. He was born about 96 years before the flood. So he's like 96 years old when this flood took place. We know people lived a lot longer back then. You know.
And one of 8 persons to live through the flood.
And one of 8 persons to live through the flood. Right. You had Noah, his wife, Shem, his wife, Japheth, his wife, and Ham and his wife. 6 plus 2, 8. You know.
He became the progenitor of the dark races.
What is a progenitor? He became the father. You know.
Not the Negro.
He became who?
The dark races. Not the Negro.
He became the progenitor of the dark races, not the Negro. So right there, because black people think because we dark skinned, we must be the same thing, right? Must be. If you're dark skinned, you have to be African. There's no other explanation. That's what people think. Right. You know what I'm saying? I got family members who literally will tell me, you know what I mean, that Africans gotta be more my brother because they black as I don't know what. Like, oh man, you know what I'm saying? You associate with Mexicans and Puerto Ricans, you know what I mean? But them Africans is dark like you. I know some Indians, some Elamites. black as midnight. You understand? My neighborhood had them, and some of them was, when I tell you, dark as me. Like without question, like same complexion as me. You know what I mean? So that don't mean anything. So it said the progenitor of the dark races, read on.
But not the Negro.
Not the Negro. So black people ain't African. So let's see who he is the progenitor of. We know he's not the progenitor of the Negroes. Let's find out who he is the progenitor of. Read on.
But the Egyptians.
But the Egyptians, African,
Ethiopians.
African,
Libyans,
African,
and Canaanites,
right? All African.
Isn't there a scripture in the Bible that said the Most High put a clear distinction between the Egyptian?
There sure is. If you can find it, Most High in Christ. Please do. You know what I mean? But it said he was the progenitor of the dark races, not the Negroes. But who did it say again? It said the Egyptians, Canaanites, Libyans.
And
I'm missing one more. They said
Ethiopians.
Now, who did the Ethiopians come from? For time's sake, they came from Cush, I believe. Right?
Yeah.
So right now, so you read in Genesis 10:8, right? Read that from the top up.
And Cush begat Nimrod.
So Nimrod was an Ethiopian, right? He's what you would call a modern day Ethiopian. You know what I mean? That's what Nimrod was. He was goddamn African. Read on.
He began to be a mighty one in the earth.
He began to be a what?
A mighty one in the earth.
So here's the thing about Nimrod, right? Here's what makes Nimrod so special, right? He became to be a mighty one in the earth. When it says mighty one, it means he became strong, man. He had military might. He was a goddamn killer, man.
That's right.
That's what Nimrod was. Nimrod was a military-minded killer. You know what I mean? And he began to get mighty in the earth, man. He was killing people and taking names and conquering. You understand? And he was really the first one to do it. The first individual to do that. You know what I'm saying? To be taken over, you know what I'm saying, surrounding areas with military might and political influence. Okay, read on.
Verse 9. He was a mighty hunter before the Lord.
He was a mighty hunter. That means it's just what I said. He was a goddamn killer. He was a killer. And he was the first one to use that to have an advantage over other nations around him. See, there was back then, right? There's a lot of infighting. If you look at the history of any race of people, any nation of people, you'll find, like, go back to Scotland. Go back, how do you think Scotland became, or Northern Ireland, I think, became part of the UK? All of that area over there, at one time, it was all fighting with each other. You know what I mean? It wasn't just, French people just popped up and English people just popped up. No, it was a bunch of people fighting for land. You know what I'm saying? The people who was originally in France aren't the people who are in France now. The people who was originally in England aren't the people who was in England now. You know what I mean? It's all been just like what? Based on what I'm just saying. What? Give me another place where the people there now ain't the people who were there originally.
America.
Most High in Christ. America. We know that firsthand.
Right.
So I don't know why somebody's shocked when they say, oh, you guys aren't the real Israelites. Oh, the real Israelites are over there in Israel right now. Are you kidding me? Really? They gotta be real Israelites because they're there now? So I guess Donald Trump is a real American. He's like a quintessential, like from this land, representative of this, you know what I'm saying, this geographical space. Donald Trump, you know what I mean? Hell la. He's a descendant of a bunch of people who murdered and raped and robbed other people of their land. That's what they do. They did it in Europe. They did it in America. They did it in Egypt. They did it all around. They did it. Wait, somebody give me the one I want. Where else has that happened? How has that taken place? Where the people there now are not the people who originally got out.
Australia.
That's another one. You got all them Aborigines, them funny looking people on the outskirts. Get out.
Israel.
Most High in Christ, our land. Our land. That's the one, the big one I wanted, the Bible. We have not seen it. That's why what the scripture say. Get out. No, what does the scripture say? The scripture said you shall see it no more again. After he sent us on them slave ships. You know what I'm saying? And we haven't seen it. Go ahead.
I was reading something, and I forget who was typing it, but they said that the true Jews left Israel black,
Right.
came back white.
His name was something Nasser.
Jebel Nasser.
Right. He was the president of Egypt in
1957.
50s.
Right, yeah, 1957.
Right.
1952.
Right. The water. Most are incorrect. Right. So yeah, he did say that. We got up.
Today, there's an article in on the Google chat on Google line. They found a mural in an ancient city, and it belonged to they think they found the seal of Nathan's, one of the biblical personages who served under Josiah, and they found it, and they showed part of the mural, but they dug it up, but they won't show what the person looks like. Wow! And they found a seal, like, and they think it was his because his name is on the seal. Good night. Okay, and I saw that today. You see more about that? So send it to me. Let's see that. What you got out?
And I found that scripture.
You gotta read that.
Exodus 11, verse 7. But against the children of Israel shall not a dog move his tongue against man or beast, that ye may know how the Lord doth put a difference between the Egyptians and Israel.
He put a difference between the Egyptians and Israel. That's why he smoked them stinking Africans in that Red Sea. You know what I'm saying? He just let that whole joint we walked through that, you know what I'm saying, without a scratch. They tried to come through and it wasn't pretty for them, you know what I'm saying? He smoked their firstborn sons, man. He hit them with all kinds of plagues on our behalf, man. You know what I'm saying? That's what we go into that Passover. That's what we going to celebrate at that 51st annual Lord's Passover, man. Barakatah Yahweh Yahushua for Commander General Yohana. Give him a hand. So, you know what I'm saying? Putting that together. Good night. Wow. You know what I mean? That's a glorious thing. But yeah, he put a difference between us and the Hamites. You know what I'm saying? So now, where you at? Are you Genesis chapter 10 and verse 8, right? Yes. Read on.
Wherefore it is said, even as Nimrod, the mighty hunter before the Lord God.
Right. That's what he was. He was the mighty hunter. You know what I'm saying? Salakia. Give me 1 second. I want to see what's that next scripture that I want. You still gonna be in Genesis, but I gotta see. We gotta jump a chapter ahead. Salakia. We gonna find out. You know what I'm saying? What this deal was with Nimrod. Salakia. Yeah. Go jump to verse 10. We don't.
Verse 10. And the beginning of his kingdom was Babel.
The beginning of his kingdom was Babel. That's where the word Babylon comes from. Babylon comes from Nimrod. You understand? So whenever you hear anything about Babylonian this or Babel this or whatever, you read it about Nimrod. It's important that we read that. Why? Because if you go look things up, man, that's why the articles, right? We're going to get an article, but a little bit later on. It'll be hard for you to find a lot of information on Nimrod really in articles, right? Because there's a lot of cloudy stuff and information they don't want to put out about him. You know what I'm saying? Historians have really been finicky on that. You know what I'm saying? But that's why it says, read that part again, verse 9.
Wherefore it is said, even as Nimrod, the mighty hunter before the Lord.
No, the end of Slakia, the beginning of verse 10.
And the beginning of his kingdom was Babel.
The beginning of his kingdom was Babel. He was the king of Babylon. You understand? Now, drop that. Give me 11 and verse 3. Because this is why I pulled the scripture earlier. We get into history, we're getting into Christmas, but I'm just building it up so you can see the connection between then and that. Right?
The book of Genesis, chapter 11, verse 3. And they said one to another, go to, let us make brick and burn them thoroughly. And they had brick for stone, and slime had they for mortar.
Right. They had brick for stone and slime for mortar. You know what I'm saying? The country Babylon got strong, man. His kingdom was getting strong, man. It was building up, and that's what they wanted to do. They wanted to, you know what I mean? He was like the first to build up what you might call a major city in a way. And you look, and even it's happening today. We're gonna read about the Tower of Babel, right? Matter of fact, jump to verse 4. Read on.
And they said,
now pay attention. Read on.
Shalaki. And they said, go to, let us build us a city and a tower.
What?
And a tower whose top may reach unto heaven.
Whose top may.
And let us make us a name.
And let us make us a name. Let's get famous. Read on.
Lest we be scattered abroad upon the face of the whole earth.
This is the first time that you have what might be called a densely populated city, right? This is your first New York. This is your first Los Angeles. your first Chicago, your first Washington, D.C. You understand? And one way that you can see the correlation between the two, one of the main parts of building that city was building what? What was one of the main facets of building this city that was important to Nimrod?
The making of the brick.
No, that's just part of the building process.
Was to preserve their heritage.
No, that's true, but what does mostly every major city have? Skyscrapers. And read that again, verse 4.
And they said, go to, let us build us a city and a tower whose top may reach unto heaven.
No, let's build a short building.
Whose top may reach unto heaven.
He said he wanted to build a tower that would go all the way to the heavens.
That's right.
Just like your Empire State Building. Just like, what's that thing in Dubai?
Burj Khalifa.
Yeah, whatever the hell it is.
That's the name.
Good night. What is that?
It's the tallest building in the world.
No, I know what I'm saying. What Khalifa? What is it?
It's the Burj Khalifa. It's like the king.
But what is the building even for?
It's just a show.
Right.
Like
some tall, but exactly. Right? It's just there.
Yeah.
Like you see the word tower and you may think, oh, this ain't got nothing to do with the building. But then you think about what the hell is going on inside the Empire State Building?
Office building. Office.
Have you? I've never met anyone who worked in there. Maybe have you? Go ahead.
I had a partner that worked that delivered mail in the Empire State Building. He had 3 floors of the Empire State Building was his route.
Right. And so you had to go in the Empire State Building and drop off mail.
Yeah.
Good night. I'm sorry, I don't believe it. I'm not saying there's nobody working in there, but I'm saying I don't believe that something in that building ain't right. You're not gonna tell me you got a building hundreds of whatever feet in the air and people just in there typing. Something's going on. Just like that World Trade Center, right? You know what I mean? That's just how I see it. But yeah, these tall towers being built up to the sky, man. Nimrod was the first to build a metropolis. And that's why they said, let's make a name so we're going to be scattered. And that scattered part, they didn't want to be sent or to be spread out. They wanted it all in together, man. They wanted all to be in this one little area and build up. You know what I'm saying? And they wanted to be conjoined together, just like America, right? What do they call America? A melting pot? You know what I mean? So read that one again.
And
verse 4.
And they said, go to, let us build us a city and a tower whose top may reach unto heaven. And let us make us a name, lest we be scattered abroad upon the face of the whole earth.
Read on.
Verse 5. And the Lord came down to see the city and the tower.
Right. The Most High came down to see the city and the tower. He came to check it out. He came to see what was going on down there in Babel. Read on.
Which the children of men build. Build it.
Right. Read on.
Verse 6. And the Lord said, behold, the people is one language.
Wait a minute. Hold up. Slow down. We got to go slow right here. The Lord said what?
Behold, the people is one.
Now, that's a good thing, right? That's a good thing, right? Sure. No sweat. No sweat. Right? Because we would all think that the people being one is great. That's what God wants. That's what That's what I learned coming up. That's what most of us did learn. Heck, I don't know any kid. I didn't know nothing about Christmas, but all I knew was that every kid I knew celebrated it. Kids down the hall celebrated. The kids in the building across the street celebrated. When I go to the park, what you getting for Christmas? I don't know what you getting for Christmas. I'm getting this. We all was one in this celebration. If somebody had asked me, what's Christmas about? I would have been like, I don't know. I have no idea. Well, why are these colors used? I don't know. What's mistletoe? I don't know what that is. What does the word Christmas mean? I don't know. I didn't have any answers for any of that. All I knew was Christmas meant Xbox. That's all I knew. Christmas meant Xbox. Christmas meant PlayStation. You know what I'm saying? Christmas meant some new gadget. When I was like 6, Christmas meant a bike. You know what I mean? Christmas meant, family's gonna be together. Christmas, if I may, Salakia. As a young lad, you know what I'm saying, Most High in Christ brought that how shot for me to get out of that, and you know what I'm saying, and that old man is dead. But Christmas also meant a wonderful, delicious holiday ham with the pineapples and the little cloves and all that. That's what Christmas meant, you know what I mean, back in them times. Luckily, not luckily, but I'm saying thank the Most High. You know what I mean? That's no more. You know what I mean? But that's what Christmas meant. You feel me? Now, read on from what you got.
Verse 5. No, verse 6.
Read from top of verse 6.
Verse 6. And the Lord said, behold, the people is one.
So the Lord said, behold, right? That's how it's supposed to be. Read on.
And they have all one language.
Wait a minute. The Lord, this is the Most High speaking. He said, the people is one. And they got one language. The sister said one band, one sound, right? They all on one accord. Is this not what America wants? That's right. Is this not what Europe wants? Is this not what Africa wants? Is this not what the world that you grew up in wants? They want us all to be, they call it assimilation, right? Assimilation. That's why we always talk about, that's why your Japanese, they ain't wearing them samurai joints no more. They ain't got the tall flip-flop toes out, clickety-clacking, you know what I'm saying, with a sword on their hip. They don't got that. The Chinese don't got the Bruce Lee slippers. You know what I'm saying? They don't got that on no more. What they rocking now? 3-piece suit. You know what I'm saying? Going to work. The world, matter of fact, the samurais, the Japanese is wearing the suits now, and now your boy is the last samurai. It was Tom Cruise, right? He the last samurai. You know what I mean? The Chinese done traded in the Chinese slippers, and now your kung fu master is Uma Thurman in Kill Bill. You understand? Right. Like they won. Like everything's getting mismatched together. You know what I'm saying? The people is one, and they got one language. They speaking all the same thing. Read on. The Most High must love this, right? Read on.
And this they begin to do.
And they started to do this. Read on.
And now nothing within will be restrained from them.
And now what?
Nothing will be restrained from them which they have imagined to do.
This is a problem. The Most High hates this. He hates when everybody's on one accord. And when I say everybody, I'm not talking about his people. I mean all the nations. He hates when the Chinese and the Japanese and the this one and the this one and his people is all mixed in together. He hates America. He hates we all speak the same disgusting, stinking language. English is spoken as the main language in like 80% of the world. Do you understand that? Like we laugh at some, you know what I'm saying, some Moabite that can't speak English well. But if you go to China, brother, you in trouble. If I go to China, I'm gonna end up walking into a river or something. Because I'm not gonna know which way to go. I'm gonna walk off a cliff or something. I'm gonna be able to read no signs or nothing. But now most of them come over here, they gotta learn some English. You know what I'm saying? One language is what they had and it's how they communicated. And the Most High said, what? Read that.
And now nothing will be restrained from them.
Because they're all in together. Now they do anything they want to do. Just like them.
Which they have to do.
Just like them. What? Give me an example of a group of people who, when they mingle with other people and they have the same language and start following the same customs and the same culture, suddenly they start to do anything that their imagination tells them to do.
White folk.
Come.
Americans.
Give it to me. Give me some more. For the sake of this class.
Japanese.
For the sake of this class. Give me a group of people who, when they get around other people and other races, other nations, they start to do everything they do.
Oh, Israel.
Oh. Get that brother.
Number one.
No, that's hard. You know what I mean? I learned from the best. I got to throw in the little guess games. I got to tell you to read my mind. You know what I mean? Okay. Israel, man. And I mean, that's been our downfall from day one. What was Adam and Eve's issue? They wanted to do what? They wanted to follow after the customs of other nations. That's right. They wanted to do what other nations were doing. Yeah,
I got a quick question about Adam and Eve. I was reading something. Mm-hmm. I forget whether I was still in the Christian church or I came into the truth, but I was reading that if Adam never took and ate of that fruit, then sin wouldn't have passed through all of man. It just would have stopped with Eve. Is that true?
What you mean though? Like,
so it says, so when Eve ate the fruit, Adam didn't have it yet. Eve went and gave fruit. Eve went and gave Adam the fruit, right? He ate it, and then that's when
sin into the world.
Yeah.
So you saying
if Adam never would have eating the fruit, would Eve have been the only one to experience death?
Okay, I think I see what you mean. I don't want to put it the wrong way. Like I know what you're saying. I know the answer to that essentially, but because I don't want to say it in a Christian way that would sound too Christian, I'm going to get back to you and get the actual breakdown scripturally so I can give you the scriptures on that. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to just give it to you in my kind of paraphrasing way. You know what I mean? So I get the scripture. So write that down. In fact, write that down for me, and I'll definitely get the scriptures for you. And the water. That's a good question. Now, Bill, to go back to the scripture you was reading, start from the top of verse 6.
Verse 6. And the Lord said, behold, the people is one, and they have all one language. And this they begin to do. And now nothing will be restrained from them, which they have imagined to do.
Right. The problem when people get together like that is that they weren't getting together. What was the Tower of Babel built for? What was it for?
So they can make a name for themselves amongst the gods.
Right. Exactly. Most High in Christ. They weren't trying to keep the commandments. You know what I'm saying? These are Hamites. You know what I mean? They weren't trying to do the right thing. They were trying to go against the Most High. That Tower of Babel, you know what I'm saying? If you look into history, you'll see there's a lot of correlations between that and what you have now in your Christian church. You know what I'm saying? That tower, you know what I'm saying? Even in the Catholic Church, a lot of them have it. Like a tower with that point at the top. Well, that's one of them. It's called an obelisk. Right. You know what I'm saying? But actually the obelisk we're going to learn is quite disgusting, and it comes from what happened?
Egypt.
It comes from it comes from Egypt, but where did Egypt get from? I just said earlier. Even Egypt's gods did not start with Egypt. Right. It goes back, right? It goes back to Nimrod, it goes back to Babylon. You know what I'm saying? So Nimrod, we're gonna get to in a second what the obelisk represents, right? No, just to get it out there, the obelisk represents a penis, right? But it does. Absolutely, it represents a penis. And you should know, like the brother just brought out, it was in Egypt. And you know if it's in Egypt, they got something to do with penises, Salakia. Now, where was we at?
Finishing verse 6.
Come on, yeah, they won't be restrained in anything they do. They were trying to go against the Most High, man. That's why the Most High was not feeling this. You understand? Now read on.
Verse 7. Go to, let us go down, and there confound their language, that they may not understand one another's speech.
Mm-hmm.
So the Lord scattered them abroad from thence upon the face of all the earth, and they left off to build the city.
Right, so the Most High went down there and confounded their language, right? So that's the same thing. What happened then, same thing that happens now. America unifies people under doing what? America unifies people not to follow the Most High. They unify people to do what?
To
sin against the Most High. They unify people to say it's okay to be homosexual. They unify people to say it's okay to celebrate pagan holidays. They unify people to say, you know what I mean, it's okay to sleep with another man's woman. They unify people to say sex isn't marriage, it's about a piece of paper, so you can head and sleep with somebody and get divorced in a week. You know what I'm saying? They say it's okay for a homosexual to adopt children. Yeah,
I was watching this court show today, and it was this case, and it was this white dude. He had this guy came from Indonesia somewhere to be his roommate, and like the white dude was a homo, and he wanted to have sex with the.
You can't even pause. You can't even get it. You can't even say the words. Go ahead.
He wanted to have sex with the Indonesian guy. The Indonesian guy, he was a fat guy. He didn't even know what was going on. It was hilarious though. But, he bring this guy over here, they turn him out,
Oh my goodness. Man.
That's the Edomites, man.
Your oppressor is the devil, the Bible speaks of. So, I mean, that doesn't surprise me at all. But yeah, but that's the point. That's why he's the devil, right? That's why he's the devil, because they do want people to join. Don't get it twisted. Do not get it twisted. The oppressor wants, what's the other scripture say? What's the scripture saying? I think it's Revelations. Go hand, join in hand.
Go hand, join in hand. Guilty will not go unpunished.
Right, it's not a revelation. Oh my God. But no, hand, join in hand. Yeah, go hand, join in hand. They want hand to join in hand, but they don't want hand to join in hand to do the right thing. They want hand to join in hand so they can still be slave masters. So they can still destroy blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. That's right. They want hand to join in hand so that their system of commerce is still number one in the world. So they have all the money and all the resources. You know what I mean? That's what was happening in Babel. That's what Nimrod was. He was your first Donald Trump. Even though Donald Trump is not a military guy at all. You know what I'm saying? You take your Donald Trump and your George Bush and your John Kerrys and your Ronald Reagans, you take all of them and put them all in one, and you got Nimrod. You know what I'm saying? That's who that cat was. Okay? So lock you. Where am I at?
Verse, we're in Genesis 12. Wait a minute.
No, you just
Genesis
said
11
in verse 8.
10.
Right. So now, you can drop that. Well, actually, no, read verse 9.
The book of Genesis, chapter 11, verse 9. Therefore is the name of it called Babel, because the Lord did there confound the language of all the earth.
Right, so that's why it's called Babel. Okay, you can drop that. Now, Nimrod had a wife, right? Nimrod's wife was named Semiramis, right? What was interesting about Nimrod and Semiramis? Anybody? Get it up.
I heard that they were mother and son.
You heard it correct. That's what's interesting about Nimrod and Semiramis. Nimrod was married to his mother, and that shouldn't shock anybody. It shouldn't shock anybody at all. Because again, if you just do a little bit of research into ancient civilizations, ancient kingdoms, go back to Egypt, right? That was common, extremely common. Their idea was, now imagine that. Imagine that they felt that in close relations was somehow preserving their bloodline. Yeah.
And they blamed that on the disformity of Akhenaten.
Right.
You know,
not Akhenaten, who is also
Tutankhamun.
King Tut. Yeah, not King Tut.
Son.
Right, exactly. King Tut. They say he had a huge, ridiculous bobblehead. You know what I'm saying? Salakia. I'm just saying that's what they say about the cat.
That's true.
You know what I mean? They say he had a bobblehead. He was a big, deformed weirdo.
That's not a myth. That's a fact.
Oh, word.
Because they found this.
I heard something. Like they found like his like.
Yeah, I saw this show.
Yeah.
Documentary, and he had a large head.
Right.
He really did.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not shocked. You know what I'm saying? They was weirdos. That's what I'm saying. They slept.
And he had
mothers.
deformity in one of his feet too.
Right. Their mothers, we probably could barely walk. Mothers were sleeping with their sons were sleeping with their sisters. You know what I'm saying? Of course, there's all kind of homosexuality going on. You know what I mean? This is what they were doing. And it's still good.
The father and mother was supposedly brother and sister.
I don't put it past them because it still happens today, man. I told you, I read a story about a goddamn incest colony, man. Existed for like 40 years. 40 years. It started with a brother and sister, and then they just started making Salakia retarded. They oppressors. They slave masters anyway. Colonizers, so I can say it. Started making a bunch of retarded babies. You know what I'm saying? Just all on the island. Couldn't even walk. Couldn't see. They was blind and deaf. You know what I'm saying? That's what they was doing. But that's the same thing with Nimrod. Nimrod was married to his own mother. You know what I'm saying? Nimrod was married to his own mother, which of course we know is a sin according to the Bible, but he's a stinking African, so who gives a damn? Now, so what happened was, so the scripture said that Babel got destroyed. The language got confounded, they got scattered and sent all over the place. Nimrod was a what? Nimrod was a mighty hunter. He was a mighty man. He had it going on, but guess what? At the end of it all, when everybody gets spread out and gets shipped all over the place, what happens? You lose political influence. You lose political power. You know what I'm saying? Shalom. Shalom. Right? You lose military power. Now the language is confounded. They can't communicate with each other. You know what I'm saying? They can't have the same might that they had before. So he loses his might, and what happens? He gets killed, right? He gets killed violently. You know what I'm saying? They say somehow somebody came in and I mean, I don't know exactly how, because this Nimrod. Nimrod got killed. Yeah, Nimrod, the king of Babylon. Okay? Right. So what happens then is this. So Nimrod gets killed. And so somebody give me, it's in the scriptures, right? And if you watch any old movies, it happens often. It's been in older movies. When a prominent person is killed, right, in battle, give me what's something that people do to the body, oftentimes. Get out.
They mummify the body.
Well, in certain places, yeah. No, what's something that an enemy does to the body? Not the people who care about this person. Get out. They behead it. That's one thing they do. Some else they don't do. Similar to that.
It's like they put on display or something.
That goes with the beheading.
They chop it up.
Right. Most time correct. That's what I'm saying. It goes with the beheading and it goes with the display. All y'all are correct. But they end up, a lot of times they would chop up the body and take pieces as souvenirs. You know what I'm saying? They would take pieces of the body, they would take off, they cut off. They did that to Nat Turner.
Yeah.
Nat Turner. When after he got, you know what I'm saying, taken out, they was cutting off toes, fingers, his ears, got out.
I read a story where they had made something out of some of his skin. I forgot what it was, a book cover or something. They made it out of Nat Turner's skin.
Right.
And it lasted a long time. It lasted into the 19th century.
Good night.
So like, they was making wallets too.
Good night. Most time crazy, but that's what I'm saying. Like, it was taking body parts and using them as souvenirs or to make things. I heard they was making shoes and all kinds of stuff.
I was about to say, they was doing that with us during slavery.
Right. This is what I'm saying. It was common. But when you have a person of certain stature, it's much more, that prize is much more valuable. You know what I'm saying? Like if I got, you know what I'm saying, somebody just, I ain't nobody. You know what I'm saying? You kill me and take, you know what I'm saying, my goddamn pinky toe, who cares? But if I say, you know what I'm saying, I got Nat Turner's pinky toe right here, people gonna be like, oh snap. Yeah.
Is that why David beheaded Goliath after he had killed?
That's damn sure why David beheaded Goliath. And held it up. Like, well, I mean, I'm sure Goliath, he was a big-headed African. But I'm sure he was like, yo, see this? You know what I mean? Just like, you know what I'm saying, them rednecks when they catch like a fish. Like it's lucky to anybody who fishes. Nothing wrong with catching fish. But I'm just saying, I know that they be like you go to their office and they got a picture of themselves with like a fish and they be mad proud of it. Like when you kill something, you know what I mean? Especially Nimrod was a mighty warrior. You know what I'm saying? He was a king of Babylon, and when they killed him, they definitely wanted pieces of that man to show, like, yo, I got Nimrod's, you know what I'm saying? I got his tongue, man. I cut his tongue out. I got Nimrod's head right here. You know what I mean? That's what they wanted to do. They did that. They used to scalp us as well. You know what I'm saying? And then the Native Indians did it as well. They would scalp somebody. I'm saying you get them scalps as proof, like, yo, I killed that cat. Here goes his scalp right here. You know what I mean? So with Nimrod, that's what happened, right? But you asked earlier about the obelisk. Now, here's the disgusting part of it, right? So, as legend would have it, somebody cut off the dude's penis, man. Somebody cut off Nimrod's penis and started wearing it around your neck. But that's what they did, right? You would back in those days, you would kill someone, cut off an ear, and you would wear it around your neck. Yes, sis.
That ain't lucky. That's not the same as the ear. Like you could have had a finger, a toe.
Well, see,
You got 10 phalanges.
Phalanges.
If I may. The story in Egypt about Osiris and
We'll get to him too.
His story was similar to this in that when his brother killed him, he chopped him up into 14 pieces, and they found all the pieces but the penis. And that was the symbol for when they started building the.
But that story goes back to Nimrod, which is what I was saying. Nimrod's penis got cut off and was like a prized possession. Like, yo, we got this man's joint. You know what I'm saying? Pause. Like, but it was like considered manly. It was like manly. Like I have now become more of a man than him because I cut off his joint. And then since Nimrod, right? Because before that, it wasn't really like that, you know. But again, we're talking about some of the first major city, the first man with crazy military might and political power. And since then, the penis became a representation of masculinity. Like this, you're drawing the big obelisk, like just a giant penis in there, Slovakia, right? Like the Washington Monument, like the obelisk in Egypt. You know what I'm saying? And what?
St. Peter's Square.
In St. Peter's Square. They got them all over, man. They got them all over. It became a symbol of military might, of manhood, of strength, of intelligence. You know what I'm saying? That's why. What's the one? Is it the Washington Monument or is it the Jefferson? Washington Monument. Because Washington was a what? He was a military man. He was, you know what I'm saying? He was the general of the rebel army. You know what I'm saying? He got.
They got one in Central Park called Cleopatra Knee.
Where in Central Park is it?
It's in Central Park, like 79th Street.
Okay.
It's in Central Park. I've seen it. I've been there myself.
Gotcha. I probably walk past
it. You should look it up because they brought it over here from Egypt, like back in the turn of the century.
Wow.
Put it in Central Park.
I think I've read about it.
Yeah.
I've probably seen it, but at the time I didn't know what it was. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, so that's when that happened, and that's again the same thing. You got that obelisk that represents that. You know what I mean? And these symbols are everywhere, all because of Nimrod. Now, Salakia. Now, what's next? Trophies.
Jeremiah 10.
Not quite yet. Not quite yet. Just a little bit. I want to get. I want to read an article. A matter of fact, I'm about to send this to you if I can. I want to read a little bit from an article. You know what I'm saying? If I can find it. Okay, now I'm gonna send this to you right now. It's like copy. All kinds of messages about the password and this shit. Bear with me, Salaki, y'all. Let me know when you get this, brother. I'm sending this to you right now.
Okay. I'll let you know as soon as I get it.
Yeah, it should be popping up. Everybody to all? No sign cuts.
We never did get those cups, did we?
We did not.
I would want to cross the bag and pick some up real quick.
If you don't mind about the shot, the lot, brothers.
Is it trueriches.com?
Yep, that's right.
Okay, I got it. Who is Ceramus?
That's exactly what we're about to read.
If I may say one thing before you start, like I remember, like that Ceramus was also used as an image of Christ.
What we mean uses the image of Christ.
Well, no, let me say this right.
Right.
They took
I
that
know what you're talking
name.
about, yeah.
They took that name and they took an Edomite and they applied that name to an Edomite as a representation of Christ.
I'm going to tell you that the crux of all of that, again, without jumping too ahead, the crux of we'll try to say that,
Yeah.
try to make a connection between Christ and the sun god.
Come on.
Right, well, the sun god in Rome is who? Go ahead.
In Rome,
Or is associated with who? Who would be Rome's?
Apollo,
No. Saturn.
Saturn,
Right.
Come on.
All of that is like sun god, Saturn. People try to say that Christ is somehow the sun god, or he's like a newer version of these other gods or some crap like that. They don't read scripture, they don't know the Bible. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But yeah, that's really what it is. And we're going to find out again. Ceramesis is essentially the precursor to Saturn and things like that, right? And then in Rome, what they started celebrating was Saturnalia. Again, I don't want to jump too far ahead, but
Sunday.
right, Saturnalia. It was the festival that ended up becoming Christmas. But you got that? If you could, yeah, read that from the top out.
Who is Semiramis? Ancient history tells a very interesting story about a mother and child, which eventually becomes a major motive throughout most world culture. The mother's name is Semiramis, and her child's name was Tammuz. In this article, we will focus on the identity of the mother.
Now, understand this, again, with these articles, there's a lot of cloudy things in terms of the exact, identification of Semiramis and of Tammuz and of Nimrod, right? Historically speaking, you know what I mean? But there's a lot of, you have to sift through these things and see the legends and things like that, how they correlate with the scriptures, right? With Nimrod, they don't even want to say that Nimrod was the king of Babylon. You know what I'm saying? If you go read just the water brother, most of my Christ. You know what I'm saying? Or not. It's what? I didn't even realize until. Matter of fact, I got a my car from them. It should be in the passenger seat. My car is dirty as hell, so just pretend like you don't see nothing. It should be in the passenger seat. Or it might be in the back seat. Just again, like I said, just pretend like you don't see nothing. So go ahead, brother.
According to various legends, Semiramis.
Go back to, just say according to the historian.
Okay. According to the historian Eusebius, Semiramis was the wife of Nimrod.
Right.
In the Sumerian language, her name is Semiramat. According to less trustworthy traditions, Semiramis was Noah's granddaughter and both the mother and wife of Nimrod.
Right, I believe Josephus actually is one of. They say now they try. I don't quote me on that, but I believe Josephus is one of the sources that says that Nimrod, his mother, was also his wife. Right, Josephus, Flavius Josephus, he was a a historian. You know what I'm saying, at the time. Well, he was a historian a little bit after Christ. You know what I'm saying? But read on. Now, according to various legends, this is the kicker.
According to various legends, Semiramis became pregnant after engaging in an adulterous affair while married to Nimrod. Around this same time, Nimrod dies in violent and untimely death.
Like we talked about, Nimrod, you know what I'm saying? He had power and, you know what I mean? He had the city and it was all doing lovely. And everything goes down because Most High's not having that. He don't like America. He don't like people coming together to sin against him. He don't like it. So he destroyed the Tower of Babel, separated them based on their language, and they fell, and Nimrod was killed. Read on.
In an effort to retain power and to hide her misdeeds, Semiramis makes a most audacious claim.
So Semiramis, so they say, it's the legend, has an affair with someone else and gets pregnant by another man, right? But people can see, wait a minute, she pregnant? Ain't Nimrod dead? How the hell, wait, what's going on? So let's find out what she says and try to cover it up and still keep Nimrod's name going. How would you go?
Is this the story of Easter?
It's connected. It's definitely connected to it.
Semiramis makes a most audacious claim. She publicly declared that upon Nimrod's death, he had been resurrected as the god of the sun.
As the what?
As the sun god.
As the sun god, guys.
It's so terrible because they taught us this in high school.
Really?
Legit. That's why I already know, they taught us this story in high school.
But a teacher actually taught you.
We were in advanced classes, but they taught us this in high school.
What school is this?
We went to Richmond Academy. It was interesting.
Man, when I was in high school, they just acted like they didn't even know. What class was it?
It was an advanced class.
Advanced history class.
Yeah, it was an advanced. It was like a pre-college course.
Okay, but I'm saying usually even colleges don't.
Regular class never taught that, but because
I think our teacher might have been obsessed with that kind of thing.
Got you.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay, I see. You'll get a teacher who kind of go off the grid a little bit. He didn't get that in the lesson plan.
But we didn't get regular history books. Like we had these thick, they call them, why they call it the Bible, history Bible.
Yeah, they call it
Because they were thick, like
Right.
we didn't get regular. They were short like Bibles and we used to.
Okay.
Yeah, but we.
Hey, Most High in Christ.
They taught us this in high school.
This is Edomite?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm curious. That's what. Most High in Christ, y'all knew that already. I definitely did not learn that.
Like, it sounds so too familiar.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I learned this from like pamphlets, you know what I'm saying, and little study materials like that. I did not.
Papers on it.
Huh?
We had to annotate and write a paper.
You had to write a paper on Semiramis and Nimrod and all of them.
Right, and
Wow.
the basic of the main topic of the story was where the sun god came from. Like where.
Well, Most High in Christ. Look at that. So that was the sort of, it's like the origin of the sun god.
Right.
And Nimrod was in it.
Yes, that was.
Most High in Christ. So these scholars right here is corroborating this right now. Most High in Christ. You know what I mean? It's a beautiful thing.
Years ago.
Hey, no sweat. The water, sis. Most High in Christ. So, yeah, the water. The water. Good night.
Like just a little corner left, but I guess
Oh, God.
share it.
Most High in Christ.
You put it like that.
Come on.
Let me know when you're ready to read that. Go back to the article, brother. Okay.
Okay.
Reads that, go from she publicly declares. Yeah.
She publicly declares that upon Nimrod's death, he had been resurrected as a god of the sun. As a sun god, Nimrod used his rays to miraculously inseminate Semiramis with a child. This child was thus considered to be divinely conceived.
Now, doesn't this sound like, because you asked the question earlier, what you got, sis?
Also, where celebrating birthdays came from.
I'm glad you said that as well. I'm glad you said that as well. We in a history class. I got a bunch of scholars with me. I'm just gonna help me. I don't even barely got to teach the joint. Most High in Christ. But you asked earlier about something about the connection between Semiramis, right, and Christ. Well, there is no real connection between Semiramis and Christ that's in the Bible. But guess what? You got the sun god. You got a mother that was what? Inseminated by someone who's dead, according to this, right? She's inseminated by, he was resurrected. So he died, he was resurrected, and read that part again.
As the sun god, Nimrod used the sun rays to miraculously inseminate Semiramis with a child. This child was considered to be divinely conceived.
Divinely conceived. And here's the crazy part. This is the real crazy part, right? Nimrod is Semiramis' son and husband. And he supposedly dies and uses sun rays to inseminate her with who? Himself. Yeah. It's supposed to be him. Like, it's like he's inseminating her with like a version of himself. Just like people think that they think that God the Father like came down, because they say the Holy Spirit, right? They think that God the Father came down and knocked up Mary on a lonely night, right? And that she gave birth to Christ, and that the Father is the Father. Literally, like the Father is the Father. You know what I'm saying? Salakia. That's what they think. And they connect that garbage because they got it from Egypt and from Nimrod and Babylon and all of these, you know what I'm saying, other garbage religions. And because Christianity comes from what? It comes from the Greeks. It comes from the Romans. So they had already had those stories. So all they did was replace the names and say, well, we'll switch it around a little bit. We'll say, okay, there's a Jesus character. Yes, sis.
And it was also considered Greek mythology.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, yeah, the Greeks had the Apollos and Kronos and Gaia and who's some more? Zeus, Athena. You know what I mean? And then that kept turning into Rome with Saturn and Jupiter, Neptune. You know what I'm saying? Same gods, different names. You know what I mean? But that's how they kind of try to twist it in with Christ. You know what I mean? But the whole thing is Nimrod is supposed to be pictured or painted as the sun god, right? Now here's what they don't tell you in this particular article. It's like just finish that paragraph.
Thus, Semiramis was both Nimrod's wife and mother.
Like it's obviously not true. Just like they try to say, okay, Christ is Mary's son, but Christ is a part of the Trinity, and they're all the same. So essentially, he inseminated his own mother with himself. You know what I'm saying? That's the crap that they put in it. Yeah,
one thing I never really understood, in Matthew 13:55, it says, "Is this not the carpenter's son? Is not his mother called Mary, and his brother James?" It was brothers. Either way,
right.
If someone had said that, wouldn't Christ, if he was immaculately conceived, wouldn't he like shoot that down and be like, "No, I don't have no earthly father"?
Right.
But everyone knows.
Absolutely.
Joseph.
I'll give you one better. There's a scripture where even Mary, he said, there's a scripture where he says, "I come to do my father's work," and both his parents are looking at him like he's retarded. You know, what the hell are you talking about? Why you would think his own mother and father would know. Well, he is, you know what I'm saying, God's son. He did, we didn't have sex. He just popped up out of nowhere. They would know that. But when he came and said, he would say little things like, "I'm coming to do my father's work." Like, your father's standing right here. What the hell are you talking about? You know what I mean? So nobody, even his parents, thought that garbage because it's not true. They had sex. That's how Christ was born. You know what I'm saying? What you got, sis? Oh, Slack. I thought you had some. Slack.
I really want that.
No sweat. No sweat. So the way it goes, right? The way the legend goes, more to it is this, and this is the part you was getting at, right? Is that she said he was the sun god, and that his spirit had gone into what? What did they try to? What did Semiramis try to say? That, in fact, let me see if I can get an article on that. Well, I have it. We got about 25 minutes left. You know what I mean? So we're definitely gonna have to get into Romans. What you got?
And I was waiting for you to finish the question. I think I got the answer.
Okay. So let me pull it up, but that is my question. Because she tried to say that Nimrod was still alive in some way, but he just wasn't physically standing there as a man. Where did she say that Nimrod's spirit had gone? So, like, nobody answered. How to turn you? Let me see what I'm Go ahead.
She basically tried to say that he was resurrected through his son, like his son was him, type of thing. Like,
that's true.
Like, how do I explain it better? But I don't know how to explain it more simpler than that.
No sweat.
She tried to, when she covered up the fact that it wasn't even his son, she tried to make it seem like, because we know that he was dead when she had the baby, right?
Right.
So everybody was already questioning. So it was like, okay, everyone basically kind of like feared the child because they like, oh, this him. Because it might have, you know what I'm saying, the child actually grew up, acting like that's who he was supposed to be because of, what his mother instilled in him and all the things that
I'm gonna see you another
said.
Okay, no sweat, sis. All that is true, right? But there's an actual thing that she claimed he had, his spirit was in. What is that thing?
An evergreen tree.
It is an evergreen tree. Give that brother a hand.
The lady that sat on the egg and brought about
Ishtar?
Yeah.
Right. There's a connection. I don't have that breakdown right now, but there is a connection between Semiramis. Why it's so why I asked that question too is because, like we said earlier, almost all of this, like Nimrod and Semiramis and Tammuz, is the beginning of like Christmas, Easter, and a bunch of crap all over the world. All these different cultures ended up taking that and branching it off and changing some names, changing this a little bit, twisting this a little bit here in order to make some tradition that all goes back to the same thing. Yeah,
They kept 2 dates.
very important.
I was gonna say that was one one of the main first false gods that was created.
Right, absolutely.
One, I'm not gonna say it was the only one because there was one before then, but it was the main.
It would. I mean,
it wasn't a person.
We're getting close to like the origin of like false gods. We're getting really close to the very beginning. Again, because Nimrod got
Didn't like the idol worship and stuff start when who was it? Was it Abraham? No, it wasn't Abraham. Somebody went up on Mount Sinai and got the law from the Most High, and they was down on the ground making golden calves.
No, that's Moses.
Okay.
That's after we got out of Egypt and Aaron and them was down there doing all kind of wickedness. You know what I'm saying? But this is before this is around Abraham's time. You know what I'm saying? So this is even earlier than that. Yes,
Wasn't what they was worshiping? A bull or something?
golden calf. That's what the brother was talking about.
Okay.
They worshiping
One
the
day
golden
before
calf.
then.
Right.
That
They were
was
worshiping the
before
golden calf.
this time.
So Lucky, brother, I'm about to send you this room right here.
I'm ready.
So I can get it burned up because of this cloud. All right. Let me know you got it. Let's send it.
BibleTools.org. Okay, I got it.
Now, I'm gonna tell you what you. So back here. All right.
Where it says Jeremiah 10:5.
Jump down to where. First read this, where it says two key figures.
Comment one. Two key figures in the origin of Christmas are Nimrod, a great-grandson of Noah, and his mother and wife, Semiramis, also known as Ishtar, and Isis. Nimrod, known in Egypt as Osiris, was the founder of the first world empire at Babel, later known as Babylon.
Right.
That's in Genesis 10:8 and 11:1 and 9. From ancient sources such as the Epic of Gilgamesh, which records unearthed by archaeologists from long ruined Mesopotamian and Egyptian cities, we can reconstruct the subsequent events.
Read on.
After Nimrod's death, Semiramis promoted the belief that he was a god. She claimed that she saw a full-grown evergreen tree spring out of the roots of a dead tree stump, symbolizing the springing forth of new life for Nimrod.
Okay, now here we're gonna get this. Read this. Read on.
On the anniversary of his birth.
On his what?
The anniversary, his birthday.
Also known as
his birthday.
His birthday. Read on.
She said Nimrod would visit the evergreen tree and leave gifts under it.
Read on.
His birthday fell on the winter solstice at the end of December.
At the end of December. Now jump down to where it says Nimrod, grandson of Ham. As you know, I'm just gonna read this part because it's kind of far down. It's like kind of in the mix there. So lock here. From many ancient writings, considerable is learned of this man who started the great organized worldly apostasy from God that has dominated this world until now. Nimrod was so evil it said he married his own mother, whose name was Semiramis. After Nimrod's untimely death, his so-called mother wife, Semiramis, propagated the evil doctrine of the survival of Nimrod as a spirit being. She claimed a full-grown evergreen tree sprang overnight from a dead tree stump, which symbolized the springing forth unto new life of the dead Nimrod. On each anniversary of his birth, she claimed Nimrod would visit the evergreen tree and leave gifts upon it. December 25th was the birthday of Nimrod. This is the real origin of the Christmas. Right there, so we see, now give me Jeremiah 10 and 1. Right there we see, you know what I'm saying, that this Christmas tree, and that's another thing, is still, because they're still not telling the whole truth about it. You know what kind of gifts was left under that Christmas tree? Can somebody tell me what kind of gifts was really left under the Christmas tree? Because mind you, how it really went was, right? There was that evergreen tree, and it was like, imagine it like in the city, in like the center of a city. Like who ever been to Rockefeller Center, right? Or if you haven't been there, if you haven't been anywhere, you might have been to the mall. Or if you had been to downtown Charlotte, right? Or anywhere where there's the disgusting huge tree, just spring up, you know what I mean? Just there, standing right there, right? And that's how it was, you know what I'm saying, with this tree that she tried to claim, you know what I mean, was Nimrod resurrected. His spirit was in here, right? And no, Nimrod wasn't the one leaving the gifts. They had to leave gifts for Nimrod. Nimrod was who they had to, because remember, it said that she tried to proclaim that he was a god. And if he's a god, what do you have to do to a god? You have to bow before it. You got to worship the Son of Christ. You got to worship it. You got to praise it. You have to give it what? Sacrifices. You got to give it something. It don't give you nothing. That's how it works. Not in this ancient, you know what I'm saying, pagan culture. Who ever heard of the Parthenon? Who's ever heard of the Parthenon? Go ahead, what you know about the Parthenon? I know this is my other history in my guy right here, right? What you know about the Parthenon?
I believe that's the temple in Greece, where they used to do sacrifices.
Right. It is the Parthenon. Is a former temple on the Athenian Acropolis, Greece, dedicated to the goddess Athena, whom the people of Athens considered their patron. Right. So that wasn't where you went to ask to get Athena to give you some gifts. You went there to give her something. Right. To give her praise and worship. Right. So it was the same thing with this tree. You got told you got to go to the tree and worship Nimrod. This tree is Nimrod. So you got to go worship it. You got to go leave something there. You got to put some gold under that tree, man. You know what I mean? He got to eat. He's still alive. And what do you think would happen if you didn't put some gold under that tree? What do you think would happen?
Maybe you were sacrificed.
That's exactly what happened. You ever heard of an ornament? It would be your head. It would be your head hanging on a tree in the middle of town.
That's right.
And you know what everybody who walked past that tree said? Oh, hell no, I gotta get some gold, man. I gotta put some gold in it. I gotta put some, you know what I mean? You asking your rib, like, yo, you said the rib is due when? That bill is due when? No sweat. You know what I mean? They will be 12, right? We'll be all right. That's what was going down. Salakia, the New Year celebration connected to Nimrod, probably connected to Nimrod in some way, but the most immediate connection I know of is the Greek god Janus. Janus has something to do with the New Year, but again, I'll break that down as we get closer. That's what, that fake New Year's is what, like 2 weeks?
Yeah.
Something like that? So I'll break that down, probably, maybe even next week. We'll do a class on the fake New Year. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, you was reading something out?
I got Jeremiah 10.
That's what I want. Go ahead and read that, brother.
The book of Jeremiah, chapter 10.
Verse 1.
Verse 1.
Now that we know that this tree was something that was to be worshipped and feared, or your head was getting cut off because this weird mother, wife, fake cheating baby lady or whatever told you if you don't do it, man, this is going to be a problem. You know what I mean? Read on. Read that. Now you see why it says this. Why Jeremiah, because before you read it real quick, what the prophets of today do the same thing the prophets did back then. You understand? It's not priests and prophets for no reason. We go out there and we talk to people about the things that they're afraid to talk about. The things that they're afraid of. You do know that, like, black people are afraid of cops, right? You do know that black people are, like, afraid of, like, the oppressor. Are we aware of this, right? They'll claim they're not afraid of them, but they are. They're afraid of the oppressor. They're afraid of colonizers.
And rightfully so.
You know what I'm saying? And in a way, rightfully so. Because the oppressor has the power to do what? The oppressor guesses.
That because of what she did and trying to cover up what she was trying to hide. It also made way and room for feminism because she became a female empowered behind it.
Let me get that part real fast. You hold what you got. We're gonna read that, but let me just read it because it's in the it's in my article I got here. Because she became the queen mother. Right? That's a big part too. She became, so if Nimrod was the tree, she became that star. You know what I'm saying? Because that's we gonna Salaki. So now you got me messed up. Now I gotta get it in order. Salaki. Read what you got.
The book of Jeremiah, chapter 10, verse 1. Hear ye the word which the Lord speaketh unto you, O house of Israel.
Right.
Thus saith the Lord, learn not the way of the heathen.
The Most High said, learn not the way of the heathen, right? Don't get involved with what they do. The same thing he was telling Adam and Eve. Don't eat of that tree. You know what I'm saying? That's somebody else's culture. You know what I mean? In order for you to survive, in order for you to follow the Most High, you have to be repulsed by other people's cultures. I am repulsed by the culture of the other white meat. I am repulsed. And here, we're repulsed by Joel's Crab Shack. You know what I'm saying? It's like this. I can't believe it exists. You know what I mean? That's exactly how you have to be in order to follow the Most High. You know what I'm saying? To follow Christ. Read on.
Thus saith the Lord, learn not the ways of the heathen,
right,
and be not dismayed at the signs of heaven.
And be not dismayed at the signs of heaven. Why? Because when Semiramis died, that tree was still there. And they still gave sacrifices to that tree every December 25th, Nimrod's birthday. And that star, which was above that tree, man, the brightest star that was up there, which eventually became what was called Saturn, right? But that brightest star, they said, oh, that must be Semiramis. That must be the queen mother of heaven. Right, I'm about to read it right now. Where they call her the queen mother of Salaki. I gotta find it.
Salaki.
Yes, it's
Before then, it wasn't, they were not really heard about as, female gods and things like that. It was always a masculine figure. But after that, that's when all the other, when these other gods came out, they became way more feminine than the other idol worships. The other idol worships were there. Even though it was a different god, it was still masculine until that happened.
right. Again, but this is happening thousands of years before Greece, right? Hundreds, without thousands of years before Greece. About to read it. Through her scheming and designing, Semiramis became the Babylonian queen of heaven, and Nimrod, under various names, became the divine son of heaven. Through the generations and the idolatrous worship, Nimrod became the false Messiah, son of Baal, the sun god. In this false Babylonian system, the mother and child, Semiramis and Nimrod reborn, became chief objects of worship. The worship of mother and child spread over the world. The names varied in different countries and languages. In Egypt, it was Isis and Osiris. In Asia, Sybil and Deus. In pagan Rome, Fortuna and Jupiter. Even in Greece, China, Japan, Tibet is to be found the counterpart of the Madonna, long before the birth of Christ. So, like you said, now we get down into Greece, you got Athena. You know what I mean? You got, Persephone's not God, but you got all these female in Gaia. You know what I'm saying? She's the queen of the earth. She's like the earth, right? But you got all these feminine entities representing goddesses and things like that. But Semiramis was the first one. You understand? So now, get out.
There's 16 immaculate saviors or something like that. I forgot the exact name of the book, but this book says is that there were 16 different cultural representation of the Immaculate Conception prior to Christ.
Right.
And all of those names that you named were part of the 16.
Exactly. The Immaculate Conception doesn't come from the Bible, it comes from Rome. Or better yet, what I'm saying is that's how Christianity got it.
That's right.
Christianity didn't get it from the Bible. That's why I have no problem. I don't care what they do. They can say what they want to say. I know, and we know in I.S.U.P.K, because we're the true scholars of the Bible, you understand? We know that there is no Immaculate Conception.
Right.
That's something that Rome, when they decided to steal, you know what I'm saying, our belief system or parts of it, when they decided to steal it, they said, well, let's put a little bit of what we already know up in there.
Right.
You know what I mean? Let's keep a little bit of what we like up in there. You know what I mean? Let's keep a little bit of that Nimrod up in there. December 25th in the Christmas tree. Let's keep that in there. You know what I mean? Let's keep, you know what I'm saying, a little bit Sunday, that Sunday worship. That sun god, because Nimrod is the sun god. So let's keep that in there, right? So that's what they did. You know what I mean? You was reading that scripture, read on.
Verse 3. For the custom of the people are vain.
Right. The customs of the people are vain. What does vain mean? Okay.
Worthless, useless.
It's worthless. It's absolutely useless. It's garbage. It's nothing. The customs of the people are vain. You know how you know the customs of the people are vain? Ask a child what Christmas is about. Ask him. Ask a little kid who's excited about Christmas, what does it mean? And they will not know. All that,
I was at my uncle's shop the other day. Had to talk to him about some stuff. And then he looked at me, he was like, so what you gonna do about Christmas? I was like, I'm gonna celebrate Christmas. He was like, boy, Jesus is the reason for the season. I was like, oh, do you actually understand the history of Christmas? And then he was like, yeah, Jesus' birthday. And I was like, God.
And you would think that's like some outdated way of thinking, right? Like, I guess it's.
It's like when you try to explain it to them, we just let them know, like, listen, that's pagan. You know?
Right.
It don't matter. It's not the spirit of giving. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like,
Which proves what the scripture is saying. Read that again, all right?
For the customs of the people are vain.
The customs of the people are nothing. That's why they didn't even care about knowing about it.
Right.
That proves that it's nothing, because if it was something, you'd want to know the true history. Like, let's make sure we do it right.
That's right.
But they say, you know what? Forget about the origin. Forget about all of that. Let's just wrap these gifts. You know what I'm saying? That's what the parents are saying. Let's just get these let's make it happen.
Right.
Let's just do that. And the kids are saying, I don't give a damn about what you're talking about. Where is the Bible? Where is it? You know what I'm saying? Where is the Xbox?
That's right.
You know what I mean? Where is it? Where's Call of Duty? Yes, it's
like they don't care about spending all the last bit of rent. They don't
Right.
care about spending all the money on gifts. So
Right.
They want to get the gifts.
Right. General Muhammad said it best, man. The spirit of Christmas, man, the same way that they was getting their heads chopped off when they did for Nimrod, and that same strong urge, I gotta make sure I put something under that tree. Somebody's gonna have that same urge come December 23rd.
That's right.
Some black and Hispanics gonna have the strong urge, but it's not gonna be a tree with some heads on it. It's gonna be a little kid looking up at them. What you gonna get? What you gonna get? If you love me, you'll get me this. And they'll think to themselves, damn, if I don't get this, I must not love my kids. If I don't spend the whole check, the whole rent check, and if the lights don't, you know what I'm saying? You're gonna get an Xbox and won't even be able to use it because there ain't gonna be no lights. You know themselves, like that Christmas spirit, Salakia. And that's why you know the word spirit don't mean what they tell you. It's not a goddamn ghost. You know what I mean? It's a vibe. And even if you just stop and think for a second, you know what I mean? You just stop, look, and listen to your heart. As stylistics say, you'll see that spirit is a vibe, right? That's why the Christmas spirit. You know what I mean? And that Christmas spirit is Salakia. Strong. It is strong. And you got to be strong to combat it. You got to find a way to convince yourself that Donny Hathaway is the worst singer in the history of the world. You have to convince yourself that Chris Brown and all of them cannot sing. And Mariah Carey, oh my God, Mariah Carey. You got a brother. You know what I mean? Like General Muhammad said, you damn near want to leave the truth because they sing it so well. You know what I mean? That's what it is. But you better find it in your spirit. You better look back and listen to them songs and them origins of them songs. You know what I mean? You singing Jingle Bells, or you sing, what's the other one? Deck the Halls? read on that verse out.
One cutteth a tree out of the forest, the work of the hands of the workmen with the axe.
He's telling you all of that because what Semiramis told y'all, it sprung out of the ground. It just rooted up. But Jeremiah, the prophet, is doing the same thing we're doing here. When someone else says it's the birth of Christ, you say, no, the hell it's not. When someone else tells you, oh, you know what I'm saying? This is birthdays are a good thing. We say, no, the hell it ain't. That's not in the Bible. We teach you the truth about what the Bible says. We go against what, you know what I'm saying, other people would have you believe to make you feel good. You know what I'm saying? That's what the prophet Jeremiah was doing. Because Semiramis had told them, what? Oh, you better make sure you put something under the tree. You don't want him, because guess what? You know that Nimrod, he knows who's good and bad. He knows who's been naughty, who's been nice. Don't go to sleep tonight if you haven't put anything under there. Because next thing you know, there will be something under there. Your goddamn head, right? And Jeremiah is telling you what? Salakia. He's saying, in negatory, he's saying, that's lying, bro. That's not true. Read that part again.
For one cutteth a tree out of the forest, the work of the hands of the workmen.
He's telling you he did it. Come, no sweat. Stop. He's telling you, this who did it. This is the work of the workman's hands. That tree didn't just spring up out of the ground. Somebody cut it down. Read on. With the axe?
With the axe.
Somebody used an axe and cut it down. Read on.
They deck it with silver and gold.
Deck the halls with, they deck it with silver and gold, right? Deck the halls with, what is it? Salaki, let me just clarify this. Real quick. Salaki, no. I know some brothers say, deck the halls with balls.
I don't know what it is, brother.
I believe the appropriate word is boughs. It's boughs of holly. It's like a branch. It's like, you ever see like that, it's like a branch with a bunch of leaves on it, like that thing, like a wreath that they put on the door, but it has branches on it and leaves. A bough is like a tree branch, right? So I believe it's deck the halls with boughs. But nonetheless, you're still gonna put balls on that tree. Right. You're gonna put red and green balls on that disgusting tree, right? You're gonna do it. You're gonna hang the balls on the tree, and then you're gonna be singing deck the halls. You don't know the words, so you're gonna be saying deck the halls with balls of holly. Anyway, you know what I mean? That's what you're gonna be singing. You know what I mean? It's disgusting, man. It sounds so homosexual. Sister said the Temptations almost got me. Man, I was in goddamn Ross yesterday with my red man. All of a sudden, the Whispers came on. One of the Whisper songs. I'm like, oh, it's a Christmas song. I can't do it. You know what I mean? I remember all that Motown stuff, man. You know what I mean? And then they try to jazz it up. You know how black people do. They don't sing it like white people sing it, like, you know. Then here comes Smokey Robinson. Deck the halls. They turn it into some magical jingle R&B joint. Make you want to dance. You gotta fight it. Like, you gotta be like, no. That's right. Smokey, you can't sing out. You know what I mean? Donnie Hathaway, you're garbage. You gotta do it. Because that Christmas spirit is strong, man. It's a strong temptation. It's a demon. It's a demon that'll make you want to look at lights and trees. And it'll make you'll think back to your childhood, right? Because that's what you do. You associate it with your childhood. It'll make you think about the good Christmases you had. When you got that gift you wanted. When you know what I'm saying? When the good times came and y'all ate good food and the family was together. But you know what? It won't make you think about that time that your uncle molested you in that back room on December 24th. You won't think about that, right? You won't think about that time when your parents fought and your mother stormed out or your father stormed out and you didn't see him for another 3 or 4 years. You won't think about that. You're always associated with pretty lights and beautiful things. But let me tell you something. Christmas absolutely destroys Blacks, Hispanics, and Indians. Absolutely destroys us. Every single year. You know what I mean? And if you look back on your life, you realize it damn sure didn't really do much for me. It didn't. Yeah, it was selfish, right? You know what I mean? You felt good as a kid. You know what I mean? Just like Nimrod, it was his birthday, but you know what? To you, it was damn like a birthday of your own. Makes sense, right? Good, huh?
Like, I only see my father like he would come around like on Christmas. You know, I remember one Christmas, you know, he bought me this rifle. This is back in the 60s, y'all.
Right. So good.
He bought me a rifle that made a firing sound. You know? And I remember him putting the stuff in the closet. That's when I first knew. But you know what I'm saying is like that's the delusion of Christmas. Like my pops would only show up like on a certain time. Right. You know what I'm saying? Right. And Christmas was one of them. Right. And it was an illusion because all the times when I needed him to be there, he was never there.
And guess what? And that's how that works. I can use this to my advantage. I'll use this. That's how Most High Christ. That's how strong the Christmas spirit is. Like, I can use this to make it seem like I'm there when I'm not.
Absolutely.
I can use this to make it seem like there's good memories of me when there are not. You know what I'm saying? I can use this to make an illusion of a family when really we hate each other's guts. You know what I'm saying? That's what that disgusting spirit does, man. You know what I mean? We're gonna get give me Jeremiah 28:8 real fast. You finished on, what was that, 10 and what?
10 and 4. I mean, I think we covered that.
Yeah, go ahead and give me Jeremiah chapter 28, verse 8.
The book of Jeremiah, chapter 28, verse 8. The prophets that have been before me and before thee of old prophesied both against many countries and against kingdoms of war and of evil and of pestilence.
Right, we prophesy against country. We prophesy against Christmas. We prophesy against pagan false gods. That's what we do. You know what I mean? We've been ordained to do it. We need to do it because just like the Most High said, he said he hates our feast days. He despises them. He's not going to smell on our solemn assemblies, right? Because the customs of the people are vain. You mad about you don't like Christmas? Why? It's not his holiday. Right. He gave you Hanukkah. He gave you the Passover. That's right. What the hell does he give a damn about a tree? You think that if somebody told you that a tree got something to do with Christ? Get it out.
It's funny that a lot of these so-called pagan holidays fall right around the time of our holidays, right, to prove them as a distraction, right, from, you understand what I'm saying? Like they made these Christmas right. goes around the time of the summer solstice. Yeah, it's definitely not. It's not no. You mean the winter solstice? It's definitely not. It's definitely not a coincidence. You know what I mean? That's what they do. They're always trying to steal. They're always trying to distract and everything. You know what I'm saying? Even when we out of time, so we're gonna talk about it next week. But Saturnalia took place between the 17th and the 25th of December. You know what I'm saying? Same thing. It was a longer celebration, but it was the same thing. You know what I mean? So give me you know what? Actually, we'll say that for next week. You know what I'm saying? What was that last one we just read? That was Jeremiah 28:8. Yeah, I was gonna go to the one where it said, "Have no other God before me," but we already covered that. You know what I'm saying? So Christmas is disgusting and pagan again. Next week we're gonna actually get into the Roman origin, man, and show you real. Oh man, how disgusting their celebration. That's a little bit more directly how we started celebrating it in America today. We're gonna show how disgusting that was and how that came about. You know what I'm saying? And with that, pass the class over to police officer Mario.
I.S.U.P.K security announcements. We're the I.S.U.P.K, started out of 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under Commander General Yohana. New rules for brothers and sisters. When a new brother or sister comes to the school, they are off limits for 6 months. They are to be saluted only. They are here to share themselves with the world. After 6 months, if a brother or sister has an interest in a particular person, he or she must get permission from the head to speak to a brother or sister. There's another 6 months in which the brother or sister will get There's another 6 months in which the brother or sister will court each other. After this 6 month period, the brother or sister will get permission from the head to marry. Tithes, which is a commandment. You can find this in Numbers 18 and 21, Malachi 3, 8 through 10. It means 10 in the Hebrew, and it's pronounced 10% of every penny of any increase the Lord gives you, gives to the Treasury Department or teacher. Priest fund. Free will offering for priests, not mandatory. Whatsoever amount you would like to give. Upcoming Holy Convocation, of course, it's Hanukkah. It'll be coming up on Friday, right? It's gonna be here, as far as I know. Right? Pretty sure the time is 7 p.m. Maybe a little bit early, 6:30.
Probably around like 6 or 6:30.
6 o'clock, 6:30. You understand? For those of you who don't know what y'all supposed to be cooking, y'all are gonna be cooking. Or if you want to cook, get in contact with Officer Abraham, who's the head of the department. So, we'll find what y'all need to bring. Right? Remind Akim and Aguatian to check the social media. You understand? Stay posted on I.S.U.P.K.com, I.S.U.P.K on YouTube, Facebook, any major platform. You understand? Check out these glorious garments and headpieces and armbands and fragrances that these brothers and sisters are making. And support this truth. Let's circulate this money in the Black community. You know what I mean? If a brother wants to be a trooper in the school, start with an all black boot, shirt, pants, headband, and scarf. And with that, I might you. So we stand. Wapa Yakwadam. No sweat.